AI is a state, and I get this from Ray Kurzweil, the book, The Singularity. I highly recommend reading that. It'll make you think about, the ultimate end of humanity, but that's another story.
That's a little heavy for today, right,
yeah,
Walter?
it is. I know. I promised you I wouldn't do that, but, right off the cliff.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Northpoint of View. I'm here with Dr. Walter Kimzes. Walter, how are you?
I'm okay, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
So what's on your mind?
Not much. Very little, surprisingly little. The article yesterday on robotics in the journal was sort of funny. They interviewed a guy that was sort of a babysitter of these robots. They get lost. They're in people's ways. They have one that keeps catching on fire and they can't figure out why. And I know that we've talked about the AI and how you've told me that some of these claims are just overblown. Exactly where we are in terms of AI development. And I take a quick look at it, and it seems to be not much ado about nothing, but sort of.
Right.
Right? I don't get it. I mean, are they? I guess they're selling the future, right?
Yeah.
But the present day value is nothing in comparison to sort of what I see as the claims or maybe the long-term potential. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, technology, you develop something and you get people to pay for it, and it doesn't work that well, but you take that money and you reinvest in improving the product, etc. So those people who are those investors, they're called early adopters.
Yep.
So the press, when they publish stuff, they have two choices. There's bad news sells, so they go after that. Or if they have slightly bad news, they inflame it. Whether you're left wing or right wing politician, it doesn't matter, okay?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, the other side said this, and then they start throwing rocks at each other. And then the third thing is, well, can we find something good to write about? And it's always about Star Trek. Oh, sorry, technology of the future. That's the case. But, that article that you mentioned, when I read it, I doubled over in laughter.
Yeah,
because
it was funny.
I've had a Roomba now for almost 15 years.
Yeah.
And you know what you have to do with a Roomba? It gets stuck. You got to pick it up. You got to move it. You got to give it a kick. And it's like, and I thought, well, it is kind of primitive software. But then I thought, you know what? You don't need very complicated software. You just got to make sure you've got enough sensors, and the sensors, convey the location information. We should be fine. And to me, that's the problem with the Roomba. So the more sensors you put in there, I think the better it will operate. Because, it can't see, right? Technology's blind.
And that's really, I can't remember, but I think in that article, they compared these robots to the Roombas.
Oh my gosh.
Right? I mean, they're just sort of bumping into walls and coming back around. And I'm so, obviously there are robotics in certain manufacturing elements that are very sophisticated. I don't know how expensive they are or how widespread they are, but the logistics robots seem to be like the restaurant waitress with a tray, like just sort of moving back and forth.
And occasionally running into somebody and spilling coffee on them.
Exactly.
Well, let me say this. My dad said the difference between technology and technology is that technology is you got something to work once. And real technology is you got something to work 99.99% of the time. And what that article is describing, what we've seen, and I have heard here in town that some automated forklift smashed into the DC cafeteria for the workers. Sent a few folks to the hospital, get minor stuff, but so they ripped it all out and junked it in the corner and went back to human-centric, work, which I don't think is the right answer. I think the right answer is to slowly introduce the technology. I was in Cleveland or Columbus last year and met some of the folks who are running DCs. It was for a very serious conference, the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, CSCMP. A lot of the folks who are running these warehouses, they've got certificates, being trained there. And so, they don't say stuff willy-nilly. And so they had a couple guys get up and show that they had employees at home with virtual reality masks and joysticks, and they were able to manipulate the forklifts around the warehouse. And so I call that mechanization. In my head, I have to put labels on things or I forget. So to me, that's mechanization. It's the same thing we did with the farms. First, you had some poor guy with his jackass pulling a plow through the field, and then we invented the tractor, and productivity went through the roof. And
now they're all GPS loaded, right? And they can
the
plow
farms
the fields and harvest without even a driver, right?
Yeah, one farmer, I think, at this point, could manage 100,000 acres. And if you go to Fargo, North Dakota, that is the American Center for Agricultural Technology. It's not Silicon Valley, it's not New York, it's nowhere else but in Fargo, North Dakota. And I got to see some of that. I've got good friends in the area, soybean farmers, and it is impressive what they're able to do. So you get one farmer who's got a soybean futures trading, a chart on his Bloomberg. He's got weather patterns with weather forecasts. He's got his computer for all the other doodad stuff that he has to do. He has a CNBC on the TV screen because he's all alone. There's nobody else. And you could run a 100,000 acre farm. You've got everything going out there with the GPS, like you said. And then underneath the tractors, they have soil samplers, big data soil samplers. And so in every part of the farm, you can see how humid the soil is, how fertile it is, how infested it is. And you can then send another tractor out with water or whatever you need and go, pour it on that part of the farm so as to improve the yield of the farm.
So what you're seeing, the label is more mechanization than technological advancement.
Exactly.
When you hear the term AI, regardless of what it sort of seems to be in the journal or wherever else now, what does AI really mean to you?
To me, AI is a state, and I get this from Ray Kurzweil, the book The Singularity. I highly recommend reading that. It'll make you think about, the ultimate end of humanity, but that's another story. But that's
a little heavy for today, right,
Yeah,
Walter?
it is. I know. I promised you I wouldn't do that, but, right off the cliff. No, but he basically says around 2040, we'll have machines that will be able to repair themselves, but also to invent themselves. Oh, we need a machine that can do this, this, and this. The machines then design it. They've got the intelligence, the database, to be able to do so. Then they send the instructions down to the factory floor. The product gets assembled. They charge it up a little bit, and it goes. It's live. And so, but this is where you get a little worried about those, doomsday science fiction stories where the machines take over the world. But
yeah, there's an Arnold Schwarzenegger film ready to be launched on that one, right?
Exactly. But that's real AI. What we have right now is some clunky stuff that kind of works. And I'll give you an example. That same farmer guy, friend of mine, Bob Sinner, he asked me to come up and give a talk. And so it was to the Midwestern Agriculture Conference. So for the hell of it, I pulled up ChatGPT and I said, what matters most to U.S. Farmers and agriculture these days? And it came back, and it gave me a nice textbook list of stuff. Yeah, tariffs, foreign exchange rates, commodity prices, etc. And then it was done. And I go, great. If I got this from a seventh grader, I would be pleased. But from the ChatGPT, they can't use this. The one thing that's really, really important to farmers, which is 90% of the delivered price of a vegetable, like a tomato at your local Publix, is transportation. And it did not list transportation. So I thought, if I try it again, it always says try it again. So after 5 tries, it's like, I got better things to do. Okay, so it was not giving me a complete list, much less was it giving me an obvious, really important element. And that just tells me that that the ChatGPT is very nice, the generative AI is all very nice. It can solve a few math problems, kind of like Mathematica, the big program could 30 years ago. But this is hardly any kind of an advance.
So, I mean, the way that I sort of think about this is, the valuation in the stock market of all the companies that are touting that, they have AI in their back pocket. I don't think that I even need to ask the question at this point.
So where did Tesla used to trade?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. No, back in the year 2000, where did Microsoft used to trade? Make the list of the stuff. Oh my goodness. The problem is the stock market just starts overpricing the future revenues way too early. And that's where bubbles are born.
The last article I read on AI, I think yesterday in the journal, was talking about the inability of programmers to match the algorithms because of the irrational factor of human emotions in trading. And it's exactly what you're talking about. I mean, it's like the run that we saw last summer on GameStop and some of these other things, where you take a company that's virtually got no value and it becomes popular. It's a novelty. It's a conversation piece, and the next thing you know, the stock's trading at $100 a share, but there's no intrinsic value other than, for a moment, everybody wants it, right?
Exactly. See, and this is a problem for economists as well. Economic models are very carefully thought out. I was a mathematical, theoretical economist. And so when we built models of any market, any economy, the models were well structured. We checked for all kinds of things, stability conditions, yada, yada, yada. And that's great. But the problem is those models assumed that the actors, the agents in the economy, were irrational.
Right.
And that does not work. It just doesn't. We've got people with mental health issues, sometimes permanent, sometimes temporary. Like who's out there predicting road rage? But these things do happen. And how would an autonomous vehicle respond to that? There are things like that I think about, because I don't think they've got it all fully factored in.
So in your mind, where we are with robotics and AI, in terms of the book, we're really just in the introduction. We haven't even got to chapter 1 yet, have we?
No, but NVIDIA is doing very well with the chips.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, because their chips power the AI in video games, and everybody's all excited at the progress from this, that you're taking the video game AI and applying it over here. I haven't played video games much since my son graduated from high school. We used to play video games like hockey, where we beat the crap out of each other, fun games.
Yeah.
But sometimes we'd play on the same side against the computer. And the computer, when you set it on high, it would trash you.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't get out of that one. I mean, you hardly won anything. Okay, and so I look at that, and then I've been looking at video games today, and I can see a definite improvement in the AI, but I don't see the functional, kind of improvement where the game kind of plays against you, but at your own level. So if you're a beginner, it doesn't play against you like the machine's full professional.
Right.
It should be able to, and as you move up, go with you. You have to choose the setting, and you can get very frustrated if you pick the most senior setting, because it just beats the crap out of you and the game's over in 30 seconds flat.
But I guess it only takes one breakthrough, one application to sort of like a one hole in the dam to create a surge, right?
Exactly. But you see, here we are talking about how the video games are leading the way. I have a problem with that, and jumping from there to robots, picking up boxes in an Amazon distribution center. One's sitting in a box and the other is, well, it's also in a box, but it's physically doing something. And anyways, that's what I think. I think we're quite some ways away from the machines fixing themselves, repairing themselves, and in your case, finding themselves.
I like that. We're going to close on that one. Hey guys, enjoyed it.
Thank
Have a
you.
great afternoon.
Hey, thanks for watching.